my Lord, what's happened? Where did you get that bruise on your forehead? You're covered in mud.
I've been kidnapped, Mabel. That's what I've been.
Kidnapped? Whatever do you mean? When?
First thing after breakfast, soon as I left the house. I hadn't gone 10 paces down the road when 2 men come up behind me and threw a coat over me head.
Oh.
Then they bundled me into a cab standing at the curb.
Outside the house? Why didn't you call out or something?
I had this coat over me face. Half choking me it was.
Oh, Percy, whatever next?
Well, next thing I knew, the driver whipped up the horse and we set off. Must have been going for an hour or more. Well, after a bit, I heard them muttering something. I couldn't make out the words, and all of a sudden they threw open the door and chucked me out. That's how I got this bruise.
Oh, what a wicked thing. You could have been killed.
Yeah, well, when I picked myself up, I found I was at Hampstead Heath. And I had to make my own way home. Well, I'm not going into work today, Mabel. You must write and tell him I'm too shook up.
Yes, all right, but why should anyone do such a thing?
How the hell should I know?
Language, Percy.
Well, I can tell you this much. It's got something to do with that Perisher upstairs. I'd take me oath on it.
What makes you say that?
We've lived in this house 15 years and nothing like this ever happened before. Not till he moved in. I tell you, Mabel, he's got to go.
Now then, my dear fellow, how many copies of the Gazette have you perused?
16.
16? Well done. How many traces of our mysterious correspondent did you find?
1. Here. Signed G. Did you come across any?
I was rather luckier. I bagged 2. However, let's put them in chronological order. Yes. Yes, as you can see, this is the first one.
Be patient. We'll find some means of communication. Meanwhile, this column G.
Yes, and that appeared 2 days after Mrs. Warren's lodger arrived, and then 3 days later...
I'm making successful arrangements. Be patient, and the clouds will pass. G.
Yes, nothing for a week after that, but then comes something rather more definite.
Yes, the path is clearing. We'll try to signal message. Remember agreed code. You will hear very soon. G.
And this morning, the description of a high red house with white stone facings, 3rd floor, 2nd window left, tonight. Yes, believe me, Watson, something is about to happen.
Oh, Mr. Holmes.
Something has happened. Come in, Mrs. Warren. We were just talking of you.
Oh, I'm sorry to trouble you twice in one day, but you did say if anything else occurred.
Ah, you have news for us.
Won't you take a seat, madam? You're quite out of breath. A glass of water, perhaps.
Oh, no, thank you, sir. I've done nothing but traipse backwards and forwards all day. But me and Mr. Warren, we're not standing for no more of it. This is a police matter now, Mr. Holmes.
Why? What's happened?
Out he goes. Bag and baggage. I'd have gone straight up and told him so, only I thought it was only right to ask you first. But I'm at the end of my patience, and that's a fact. When it comes to knocking my old man about...
Knocking your husband about?
As good as. Used him very roughly, they did.
They who?
Oh, that's what we'd like to know. Mr. Warren went off to work first thing, like he does every day. And the minute he left the house, 2 villains come up behind and kidnapped him.
Good heavens.
Threw a coat over his head and flung him into a cab, they did. They drove him all the way to Hampstead and chucked him out near the Vale of Health. He's lucky to be alive.
Did he see which way the cab went? Could he identify it?
Oh, he was that shook up, he never thought to look. He just took a bus home, and he was there when I got back.
Did he observe the appearance of the men or hear their conversation?
He never saw nothing, nor heard nothing. Clean dazed he was, just as if he'd been lifted up and dropped again by magic. There was 2 men in it, he knows that much. 3 counting the driver.
But why do you connect this attack with your lodger?
Well, stands to reason, don't it? But we'll have him out of the house before the day's over, believe you me.
Now, do nothing rash, Mrs. Warren. It's clear that there's some danger threatening your lodger. His enemies were lying in wait at your door and ambushed your husband in error. On discovering their mistake, they let him go. Yes, what else they might have done, I can only conjecture.
Well, that's all very well. But what are we to do, Mr. Holmes?
You know, I've a great fancy to see this lodger of yours, Mrs. Warren.
Well, I don't see how, unless you break his door down. After I leave his tray, I hear him unlock it as I go downstairs.
He takes the tray in. Could we not conceal ourselves nearby and watch him do so?
Let me think. There's a vacant room across the landing. I could fix up a looking-glass, perhaps, and if you gentlemen was to stay behind the door...
Yes, excellent. At what time does he take his evening meal?
About 7, as a rule.
Very well. Dr. Watson and I will be at Great Orme Street at 1:45. Meanwhile, I rely on you to make the arrangements. Let's hope the gentleman hasn't requested an early supper this evening.
Shall I ring the bell?
Yes, but with finesse. We don't wish to disturb the entire household.
Seems a very respectable neighbourhood. Hardly the place one would expect to find this kind of thuggery.
Of course, a street like this provides excellent cover. Tall residential buildings. Oh, hello.
What now?
That building across the road. No, further along. Don't you see?
Huh? Nothing but a block of mansion flats, red brick with
Exactly, a high red house with white stone facings. That is the signal station.
Shh. Someone's coming.
Sorry to keep you waiting, gentlemen. I was just getting supper ready. Please come in.
Watson, be so good as to remove your boots, if you please.
My boots?
Do as I do and leave them here by the hall stand. Quarry is obviously on his guard. We must not alarm him.
I'll take you upstairs, then I'll come down and wait till he rings for his supper. It shouldn't be long now.
An excellent hiding place, giving us a good view of the door across the landing.
I only wish the landlady had provided a larger mirror. It's difficult to see in such a
At
small...
one moment. Yes, I thought so. By the smell of boiled cabbage and bacon, this'll be Mrs. Warren with a tray.
Your supper, sir?
She set down the tray. She's going downstairs.
Yes, but look here. Wait, I could...
I'll just close this door. Well, Watson, what do you make of that?
Not a great deal. You were in the way. But I gather the lodger is a lady.
A very beautiful one. Long, slim hands, the face of a Madonna, and a look of horror when she suspected she was being watched.
She saw you?
I think not. And there's a glimmer from the street lamp. She probably saw some faint movement which alarmed her. As I suspected, there's been a substitution of lodgers.
But why?
Well, consider this. A couple was seeking refuge from some terrible danger. The man, who had some essential work to carry out, wished to leave the woman in complete safety. He solved the problem so effectively that her presence was not even known to the landlady. The printed messages were in order to conceal her delicate feminine handwriting, and the man cannot now communicate with her except through the personal column of the Gazette.
But what's behind it all? Some sort of elopement? A runaway romance?
Oh, this is no love escapade. I fear it has a far more sinister aspect. The further we go in this investigation, the more curious and complex it becomes.
Surely, Holmes, if it's some private matter, why should you pursue it any further?
Oh, indeed. This is art for art's sake, my dear chap. But when you were in practice, did you never make any diagnosis without thought of reward?
Sometimes, for my education.
Yes, well, education never ends, Watson. Life is an endless series of lessons, and this is an instructive case. Yes, there's neither money in it nor credit. Yet it's a case one would like to tidy up.
Perhaps if we were to return to Baker Street and discuss...
No, not yet. I remember this morning's message on the Gazette. The building over the road. Let me see. The 3rd floor, second window on the left.
That apartment is in darkness. There seem to be no curtains at the window.
Yes, it's evidently an empty flat to which our man has access. But he can't...
Holmes, look. Do you see that glimmer of light? Someone has lit a candle.
Yes, and now he shields the flame with his hand. We must watch and wait. I fancy he stands there staring across at this house. No doubt he wishes to be sure that she is on the lookout too. Yes, he removes his hand briefly, one flash of light, and he shields it again. Yes, that must be the code he referred to. A quick pencil and paper. 1. What's it mean? Oh, there it goes again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make a note of this, Watson. 7, 8, and keep counting. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Mabel,
Oh, what is it now?
what do you think's going on up there?
I don't know what to think, and that's a fact. But he's gone very quiet.
Quiet as a grave.
Oh, don't say such things. At least he's stopped walking about. That's some comfort.
Ask me, he's biding his time. And what about them other two in the box room?
They're biding their time too. You know what I wish?
No? What?
I wish we hadn't never started taking in lodgers. I wish we'd never come to Bloomsbury at all. I wish we'd stayed at home with me mum and dad at Tooting Bec. They don't have goings on like this in Tooting Bec.
A most primitive form of code. 1 flash for A, 2 for B, 3 for C, and so on. Now read it all out, Watson. And tell me what you have.
A-T-T-E-N-T-A. Repeated 3 times.
At 10, tar. It doesn't make sense. Yes, unless T.A. are someone's initials?
It could mean at 10, thank you, abbreviated to save time.
No, I should have guessed from the dark beauty of that face. The word's Italian. Attenta, the Italian for beware.
Look out, he's beginning again. 1, 2, 3. Good Lord. Total darkness. He's put out the candle.
Yes, and the message has been cut short.
By some intruder, perhaps?
I think you're right. There's something devilish in this, Watson. We must go to that empty flat ourselves and see what we can find.
There's still no light in that apartment. No sign of life.
Can you see anyone upstairs in Mrs. Warren's house at the lodger's window, perhaps?
It has a net curtain, but yes, I can see the outline of a woman. She's standing there as we did, watching the building opposite.
And in that doorway, someone else is watching us. Yeah, you see him by the light of that street lamp. Let's cross over.
Why, Mr. Holmes.
Inspector Gregson, this is a night of surprises.
Well, and Dr. Watson.
Journeys end in lovers' meetings, to coin a phrase. What brings you here, Inspector?
The same reason that brings you, I dare say. Though how you got onto it, I can't imagine.
Our different threads from the same tangled skein. The doctor and I have been across the road, reading the signals.
Signals? What signals?
From the 3rd floor window here, until the message was suddenly interrupted. That's why we came over, to see what's going on.
However, since the case is in your good hands, Inspector, there's no point in our attempting to interfere, so we'll bid you a very good night.
No, wait a bit. Don't run away, gentlemen. I'll say this much, Mr. Holmes. I was never on a case yet that I didn't feel the better for having you on my side. And there's no hurry. These flats only have the one exit, so we have him safely bottled up.
And who is he?
You mean to say you don't know? Well, we can score one over you for once, Mr. Holmes. See the cabman waiting at the corner? Well, I'll get him over and introduce you. He can explain better than I can.
A cab driver?
That's right, Doctor. Except that he ain't a cab driver. Let me introduce you to Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. This is Mr. Leverton of Pinkerton's American Detective Agency.
The hero of the Long Island Cave mystery. I'm delighted to make your acquaintance.
It's good of you to say so, Mr. Holmes. The honor's all mine. But I'm on the greatest trail of my life at present. If I can just lay my hands on Giorgiano...
Giorgiano? Of the Red Circle?
So his fame has spread this far, is it? Yet we know a good deal about him in the States, Mr. Holmes. He's at back of 50 unsolved murders. Yet he's so smart, we can't pin them on him. I trailed him here from New York, trying to find an excuse to lay my hand on his collar. But Inspector Gregson and I have run him to ground. He won't slip by us this time.
Yes. Has no one come out of the building since you've been here?
Just one man, but Giorgiano's built like a mountain. I'll take my oath it wasn't him.
According to Mr. Holmes and the doctor, he was up there sending signals from the window. And he broke off suddenly.
Hell's teeth! He's on to us.
What makes you say that?
Here he is, holed up in London, sending messages to an accomplice. We know there are several of his gang over in London. He must have caught sight of us down here in the street. Now what do we do?
I suggest we go up and investigate.
We got no warrant for his arrest.
He's in unoccupied premises under suspicious circumstances. That's good enough for me.
Okay. Let's go.